It's not art for art's sake. It's art for the sake of homeless persons, with them, to express feelings that are communicated to us all. This is a subject today on Austin Faith Dialogue. Stay with us.
Austin Faith Dialogue, at the crossroads of religion and life. A series highlighting the cultural and social interactions between the worshiping and religious communities in and around the capital city. Austin Faith Dialogue is brought to you by the Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KXAN. Join us now in Austin Faith Dialogue.
Hello, I'm Richard Thompson of Austin Metropolitan Ministries, welcoming you to this edition of the show. In past years, there's been a good bit of controversy surrounding homeless issues in Austin. The homeless ban, the camping ban, the matter of where shelters are to be placed. But there is one program that is without question not only not controversial, but it is particularly creative in a way of giving expression to and with homeless persons. We call it today Homeless Art. And we have with us two people that can give us insight into this and to share this very special program. This is Andrea McDowell, a University of Texas graduate student who has a homeless art project to tell us about. We welcome you, Andrea.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
And John McPherson. John, you are one of the artists in the Homeless Artists Guild, and we welcome you to the show.
Thank you.
And we'd like to start out, Andrea, with you're just telling us a little bit, give us an overall picture of how many of these projects are going on in town and how many folks are involved as far as you can tell.
Okay, there are two major programs. The first is the Homeless Artists Guild, which is under the umbrella organization of the Austin Metropolitan Ministries. That program actually runs about 5 different workshops, I would call them, throughout the week. 4 of them are at homeless shelters, and those are mainly high school students who are very anonymous as homeless in their daily lives.
I see.
So I haven't had much activity with them. The 5th is at the University United Methodist Church, and that runs on Saturday afternoons along with the lunch serving program that they have there.
Okay.
Now the second organization is the Art from the Streets program, and that's sort of a individually run program. It's located at ARCH, the Austin Resource Center for the Homeless, but it's a separate organization, and they get grant money annually and put on a huge show in November and have weekly meetings or workshops on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons.
Okay. So, John, you're involved with which of these programs that you just talked about?
I'm involved with both of the adult art programs, and I help out quite a bit relaying and getting people started with doing their work.
Okay, and the 2 adult programs, one
The one at Arch and the one on Saturdays at the UMC on campus.
University Methodist Church, okay. Okay, now, I know, Andrea, you're a student at the University of Texas, and this is part of your program.
Right.
Tell me how you got into that. And
Okay. I'm taking a documentary photo class, and I'm a photographer. I'm in the photojournalism program at UT, graduate student, and I needed a documentary project. I guess I wanted it to be a social documentary in the sense that I wanted to make a statement and somehow see what goes on in the Society of Austin, since this is my first year here. So I found out about the Homeless Artists Guild at the church and started going there, and from meeting the homeless artists who work there, learned more about what other types of art programs go on throughout the city, and just enlarged the project to a one on Austin's homeless artists in general.
okay, you broadened out then as you went along, it sounds
Exactly.
like. John, where do you live?
I'm staying underneath a bridge in South Austin, but the streets is where I live.
So that literally is your home at this point.
We consider ourselves brothers. So it is a family home situation.
I see.
I can shower at a couple different facilities in town and take care of my personal hygiene and change my clothes. I have a locker in town.
And how did you happen to come to be involved in this particular arts program?
I've had a couple college courses in the arts, and I was looking for outlets, supplies, material. It's a way to outreach and help back the community in which I live.
I see. So it's not only just doing it for your own sake, but for the sake of others that are your brothers.
For the sake of the family that we live with.
Okay. Okay. I think with that background then, why don't we take a look. You've got your photographs that you've brought that we can look at as a kind of an overall view. Give us some interpretation here.
Okay, this is one of the homeless artists, Patricia Pardo, working down at the Art from the Streets program, and her granddaughter, who she brought on one of the school holidays. Behind her is Heloise Gold, who is one of the organizers of that program.
Okay.
This is the group on one normal Saturday at the University United Methodist Church.
Okay.
And this is some of the people down at the Art from the Streets program again. The man you see seated working is goes by the name Old Bear, and his art is mostly leather working, but he also does drawings and makes things out of nature when he finds them. This is Old Bear's hands. He's actually working on a pendant for Patricia, one of the other artists down at the Art from the Streets program.
All right.
And this is Old Bear showing us his sack that he just made. You can see feathers and leather work and all kinds of interesting stuff on there. And this is John.
John, what are you doing there?
Working on a contemporary modern piece in acrylics, which is relatively new to me.
And this is at which facility?
This is over at the United Methodist Church on
Okay.
Saturdays.
All right.
John,
This one is myself and Fidencia Duran composing the new mural that is over at the Salvation Army.
Okay. I think maybe we have a photo of that coming up too,
I
don't
think
we?
it's
Yes.
next.
Okay.
There you go.
And that's part of the 52-foot long hallway and the infirmary that we put that mural on.
Oh, really? So you had a hand in doing that at the Salvation Army?
We did a couple calls from the street lasting over a month.
Okay.
This is Red Dog. I believe he's left town because Austin is too hot in the summer, as he says. But here he's working on a plaque that we have to show later in the show, I think.
All right.
And this is Patricia Pardo. We also have some of her work to show.
We saw her earlier, I guess.
Right, she's down at the Art from the Streets program. And this is Howard Cook. He has done a lot of work with the Art from the Streets program and mainly does abstract drawings. This is Old Bear again. The cane that you can see sticking out to the left is one that he made.
Okay.
And this is Ginger Gayer. She is the organizer at the University United Methodist Church program on Saturdays. She makes sure they have the supplies out to work with and generally just hangs out.
Yes, Ginger's been on our program a couple of times and featuring her sculpture. And she's then serving in this way too.
Right.
All right.
And this is John looking at some of the pieces down at the Art from the Streets program. If you can see the paintings and all over the walls and in the boxes, there are just thousands and thousands of paintings down at Arch where they have the show every year, and they're always left over.
A show every year.
In November.
Okay, we'll come back to that.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's come to it right now. What happens in November?
Every middle of every November, Arch, which used to be Hobos, turns the building over to Art from the Streets, which normally just contains themselves within one room, and the walls get literally plastered with the artwork. There's boxes on the floor of more artwork, and we try to get rid of it and sell it all, and all the proceeds go back to the homeless people as being a basically one-shot deal where they get a nice little spending allowance for their Christmas.
Oh, I see. So the proceeds go directly to the artists,
Correct.
and
And it gives us a nice little Christmas thing to tie this over for the harder weather that's ahead over the following couple months.
Okay. Well, now, you made reference to something that we're going to show here. Why don't we have you do that, Andrea?
Okay. This is
If
the
you can
plaque.
hold it up, maybe then you could get the
Okay.
close-up of that. This is a sculpture piece.
This is the one that Red Dog was making. Whenever I saw Red Dog on the drag, that's the Guadalupe at the university, he would always greet me by, "Hey, sister," or "How you doing, sister?" and "Peace, sister." And so I think this piece really describes him well. It says the peace, love, and karma. I think it's very committed to the rest of humanity.
Okay, and he, even though he left town, he left that.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, homeless people don't have a lot of places to keep
That's
things.
right, okay.
So they often leave their work down, and they give us permission to show it.
Well, that's great. We
Yeah.
appreciate his doing that.
And this next piece was made by one of the regulars, Danny, down at the Homeless Artists Guild. It's kind of small, but
Okay, well, let's see how big we can make it. It looks like a spaceship, a rocket.
he told me the name of the show, and I have forgotten. It's one of the science fiction TV shows it's based on. But Danny has been coming down at least for the whole time I've been there, 3 months or so, and really enjoys working with the art. And then the last piece of pottery was made by a woman who goes by the name Mother Love. It's got some real detail and color in it.
Okay, they've got it right there. Okay, that's great. Mother Love.
Mother Love.
Uh-huh.
She, along with a lot of the homeless individuals, go by different names and are their actual, they recreate themselves almost.
Okay, let's see this. This is a colorful piece. I mean, you can tell even at a distance. John, you said that you had studied art at one time?
I pulled 14 or 15 college credits on art about 5 years ago.
I see.
So
So
that's still with me.
And that becomes a part of your life. It continues to be as you participate in these programs.
I found something with the homeless organizations that drew me into it, being that so many of the homeless people are actually trying to be good Samaritan-type citizens, and it draws them closer to me too, being that I have a special skill that I have to offer to these people. And I can't see a society without art. When you think about archaeology even, it's really, you say it's an artifact that you find.
Right.
And the thing with the term artifact is, it's a fact of art.
Okay. Well, it's also something that can give expression in a way that words can't.
True.
And,
And it can give you a feeling.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to take a break here, but when we come back, I think we're going to pursue how art does give expression, not only to the people who are creating it, but to those who are receiving it. We hope you're receiving this program today well, and we will look forward to seeing you back in just a moment. Welcome back to Austin Faith Dialogue, where today our subject is homeless art, with folks who are not privileged to have roofs over their heads, but who are finding a shelter in several places in town that we've been talking about, with Andrea McDowell, who is from the University of Texas, doing a homeless art project, and John McPherson, who is one of those artists. And just before the break, I wanted to pursue what we were just on to a little bit about how art can give expression where words can't. And you were giving me an example of that.
Yes, I was bringing up one of the participants who actually comes to both the University United Methodist Church and the Art from the Streets program. His name is Randy, and he has physical disabilities where he cannot speak and even has trouble with some of his movements and eating. But I think for him, art provides a means of expression. Mm-hmm. He does write, but not perfectly well. So I think this program has really provided him and all the artists that very outlet.
Mm-hmm. And I think the spiritual aspect of art, John, you've mentioned the fact that it's a community activity. It's not just people over
Right.
in a corner doing their own thing, but helping each other in various ways. Has that been your experience and your intention?
Art is something that bonds some of us together, and it brings others to turn around and take a second look at the homeless person, being that a lot of them are overlooked by society for their abilities to find a regular minimal type job. They've been able to pick up the art and have been able to somewhat learn a skill. I've seen people that are sitting there for months at a time out on the street finally grasping roots, coming on up to me and saying, "I'll see you tomorrow, I'll see you next week."
Oh, really?
And they're confirmed alcoholics that are starting to mentally go. Mm-hmm. And it's a way of giving them some sort of reality to hang on to, something that they can try to function with and improve their own life skills and give them a little bit of hope.
Okay. Well, that's touching to hear you say that people have sought you out. You've become identified as somebody that can help involve them in this program that is an expression of what they're feeling and give them hope and community. Mm-hmm. So I think one thing we want to do is have you, Andrea, show us some of the works that various ones have done, and I know John has a couple of these here, so let's begin and see what we can see for a few moments.
This is a piece by Sandra Herring. She's a woman who works down at the Art from the Streets program, and I believe has been involved with the program for quite a while. She's very quiet and does not always come down there to work, which I think brings up again the point of why are they coming, and it's a family down there, even more so than at the Homeless Artists Guild, where it's only been going on for 6 months. The Art from the Streets has been going on for 6 years.
All right.
So
there is a real community there.
there's community, yeah.
All right. Okay, let's see what comes next.
This is a piece by Hugh Miles. He is not homeless anymore, and I think that brings up the point that homelessness is not it's not a permanent thing. It's very temporary, mm-hmm. and the art helps that, and I think this shows it.
So what are we looking at here?
I would have to let him tell you that. Not sure I'm ready to interpret their artwork.
Okay.
John, you want to try?
Well, I can't really tell, except for I see 6 different people reaching out a family type of unit. Mm-hmm. But I also see that one's missing a foot, one's missing an arm. And I question as to the reason that may be. And when it was brought to my attention, Hugh sort of smiled and laughed about it, being that he himself had no real reason for doing it on the surface, but I think that there was a little bit of pain of something being broken in the family in the past.
Oh, I see. Well,
because he has been divorced, and now he currently has a son, and everything's starting to go well for him.
Oh, that's great.
And he's got his life going pretty well back online. He does come in once in a while.
That's very perceptive reading of that. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And this is a piece by Patricia Pardo, who I think we saw in the photographs early. She's a regular down there and has been active with the program for almost 5 years. Is always one of the ones who comes down and doesn't talk as much, but just makes a lot of pieces in one day. Very dedicated.
She's expressing herself in her own way then. Okay. Then we have one which is down below here. Okay.
And this is a piece by Chris Lyons. Most of his work does involve the space scene with, he uses spray paints and then puts down bottles or some sorts of spray cans and paints around those to do the planets.
Okay. Celestial
Yeah,
scene.
exactly.
Okay. And I think there are 2 or 3 others. Here's just one that we were going to look at.
This is a piece by Howard Cook. I think we also saw a photograph of him. He is very involved in the Art from the Streets program and does a lot of work with abstract drawings and pieces like this.
So what, are we able to come now to, I think, one of your pieces, John?
Well, this is one of the mid-semester pieces that I did during the 1 year that I was going to school for art. And I was told, bring in 3 things from home that you can identify with.
I see.
So I brought in the tool belt and the square, the candlestick maker, and another painting that I did prior to that. The tool belt and candlestick maker represents pretty much the old style of life which I was accustomed to, which I could no longer function at.
I see. That was sort of a symbol of your old life then.
And the canvas painting of a painting is basically pretty much what I'm projecting myself into or through.
All right. And then we've got one more of yours. And there it is.
This one with the frog I did about a week and a half ago. And it was rather humorous, lots of brightness to it, lots of light to it, certain amount of abstraction to it. And I was just having a good time doing it with this group.
You've got a sense of that just from the color and variety of pattern. I think that this is one that's a recent creation on your part. I want to tell you a story that I heard when I was over at the McNay Museum in San Antonio recently. It was for the George O'Keeffe exhibit that they had. But I took a friend and we were wandering in other parts of other galleries, and there was a picture by Picasso. And it was called The Bathers. It was from 1903. And the guard, a security person, was watching us and he said, well, I want to tell you a story about that. He said there's a group of school kids that came in, maybe this 7 or 8-year-old child that came in and looked at that because it was so, he recognized what it was. He said, did Picasso really paint that? And the guard said, yes, he did. And the kid said, well, that's before he went nuts. And so, I think a lot of people feel that modern art has kind of gone nuts because it's abstract and you can't tell exactly what it is. So I'm looking for some kind of an explanation as to, you're the artist, John. What is there about abstract art that communicates to folks?
Abstract art between colors and line brings people feelings. There are cool colors, there are warm colors, there's hot colors, and they tend to exemplify the expressions of the person's mood that they're going through at the moment of time. They might outright be trying to lie to themselves or something like that, and it'll come out in their artwork. I'm not a psychotherapist by any means, but I can tell pretty much when I see somebody doing something, what they're doing, what their facial expressions are, when I say hello to them, you know, get a feeling of the mood that they're in, and then I see the work that they're doing too. And it's really something that you have to put the two things together, have to put all the pieces of the puzzle together to really say, what is this person trying to say or do?
Sure.
Because art speaks to the individual as well as to the viewer.
And incidentally, speaking of this program that we've been talking about, there is on the screen a number here, the Austin Metropolitan Ministry Homeless Commission, that is the sponsor of the Homeless Artists Guild. And the number there, 472-4934, is where people can call and get more information about that. And then the Arch program that's down on, is it on 2nd Street?
It's actually it's at Arch, but it's the Art from the Streets program. And that is run by 4 or 5 individuals who apply for the grant on their own.
I see. But the facility they use is the
at
one-
Arch.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is down close to City Hall, isn't it?
It's with I think they call it the work corner, where you see day laborers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Well, I think in the last minute or so that we have, that the fact that this is sponsored by Austin Metropolitan Ministries means that we give support through the work that the Homeless Commission does. That's not just a matter of trying to help find jobs or to provide clothing or the other usual needs. I mean, the art is a gift of the spirit. And sometimes the first thing that gets cut in schools, for instance, are the arts. But it's almost like what we were saying earlier, sounds to me like it's almost like cutting out your heart. That there's something about the soul that you've shared with us here today. And John, I'd like to particularly thank you for your interpretation and for your outreach to folks too. Sounds like there are people that have come into this program as a result of your influence.
I think it's their own interest in the subject, their innate interest that they're born with, because they're given a soul. It's a primary language that we can all understand.
Okay.
I speak English, but the next person might speak Greek or Italian and won't understand a word that I say. The art will.
I want you to know we've understood every word that you said here today. And you too, Andrea
Thank you.
McDowell. And blessings on both of you. And may God's peace be with both of you. And with you folks who are looking in today, this is Richard Thompson for Austin Metropolitan Ministries, wishing you peace and goodbye.